Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Since Mortal Kombat 1 has come out, I've been playing Nitara, and I think she has some problems that I want to talk about in this video, so we'll first start with those. Then I'm going to talk about what I do to balance her out, and then, of course, we'll mention what she does well. So let's start first with reason number 1, why Nitara sucks. She has poor synergy with Cyrax. As everyone knows by now, Cyrax is the strongest assist, or cameo as you want to call it, in the game. Mostly because he can allow the long chip damage strings to be repeated, and he does a lot of chip damage himself. But Nitara can't really utilize that because she doesn't have such strings. And the way he knocks people up in the air, if you try to jump up in the air and do an air combo with her, it just tends to drop them a lot and messes up the gravity scaling. She just doesn't have good synergy with him. That's not really a big weakness, I suppose, so that's starting off with a small one. So we'll start off light, I guess. But if you are playing Nitara, you do want to use, I suggest using Sector or Kung Lao. Their summon cameos allow your opponent to be knocked up into the air straight up so that you can jump up and do her air bread and butter combos pretty easily. And that's going to bring us to our next point. Reason number 2. Her armored get-up reversal is a high. The get-up mechanic is the universal game mechanic in which a player can input a special move as they recover off the ground to perform the attack on the very first possible frame. However, each character has one of these special moves that gains a hit of armor when the EX meter burn version is performed. Using the EX move with armor as a get-up is a powerful tool. Nitara's unfortunately is high, which means it is easily negated if you are meated with a low or any crouching attack, as it will whiff and leave you wide open. She is one of only 3 characters in the game whose armored special move is a high, along with Johnny Cage and General Shao. This is a major weakness, I think, because anybody who's aware of this knowledge check can basically take this whole mechanic away from you by meeting you with a low every time. If they do want to balance the game, I would suggest maybe just making everyone's armored special attack a mid to make it fair, or, I might be asking a lot though. Okay, reason number 3 Nitara is bad is she has no mid and just basically terrible buttons. Her normal buttons are just bad. They're stubby and short range. They have overall just below average frame data. None of her strings and in plus frames, none of them have a baked in high-low that you can convert off easily. Like take Melina, for example. She has 2 strings. One of them has an overhead and one of them has a low. You can cancel both of them on hit into her Melina ball and do like a 30% damage combo for free. And if you have Scorpion, you're talking like 40, 50. Nitara also, she doesn't have any strings that start with a mid, meaning that like every time in close range when you end a string, you have to like fully respect the possibility of getting crouch jab. You can't beat them with a mid. And she's just easy to block unless she uses meter, of course. And that's actually going to bring me to our next point. Reason number 4, Nitara is meter hungry AF. As I just said, she has no mix in her normals, so you need to get creative with your air dash canceling of back 2 and standing 3. Of course, doing so costs meter each time. Each attempt at a mix will be very resource consuming. I honestly think this is her single greatest weakness. Most other characters don't really need to use their meter that much unless they really feel like doing extra damage. It's just giving, and that gives them the luxury of having the combo breaker available very often. If you're playing Nitara, you will find yourself constantly getting your combos broken while also feeling like you really never have the meter to use the mechanic yourself because you're constantly using it. This is because she needs meter to pursue her opponents with double air dashes and meter to attempt mix-ups off of her normals with the air dash canceling. You will constantly be facing an uphill meter battle. And speaking of chasing down opponents, reason number 5. She has weak zoning and anti-zoning tools. Nitara doesn't have a teleport or any normal projectiles. Her projectile is only accessible after using the Blood Sacrifice move. It's a special move which allows her to use another attack, Bloody Bolt, along with changing the properties of some of her other special attacks, of course. Blood Sacrifice not only has 40 frames of recovery, and really does nothing, but it just puts her in a state, but it actually costs you 50 health. Yes, you heard me. You have to pay 50 health and leave yourself open for 40 frames just to have the ability to perform Bloody Bolt. And Bloody Bolt isn't just your everyday horizontal fireball. It's one of those where you have to use an extra directional input to determine the range, such as close or far. And then, of course, neutral for just the middle range, I suppose. And it has a whopping 53 frame startup. It takes forever to fire that thing off. And that's almost an entire second, of course, with 60 frames being a second. So it doesn't even really do a particularly high amount of damage considering how hard it is to get off. But it is a mid, and for a projectile that's good rather than being a high, so I guess that's a good plus. But, I mean, you need to pay 50 health, and it's a combined, like, 93 frames of time just to fire off a single bolt. So, you take a shot, you better not miss. This leads her to having very difficult uphill matchups against strong zoners like Lee May, Sub-Zero. Will have a field day keeping her out. They're just going to be really good at keeping away from you. These matchups can be helped out by using Motaro as your cameo, but he provides a teleport, a projectile barrier, and he generally helps against zoning characters. And this isn't really optimal for Nitara, however, and she really isn't able to use his assist as for combo extensions like she can Sector or Kung Lao. And Motaro also comes, for some reason, with a health penalty, meaning he lowers your total health. Nitara already is a health penalty character herself, so using Motaro means you start with a measly 850 health. Literally. It's essentially putting you in a dangerous two-touch territory. 400 damage and some change is not hard to come by, so you are a two-touch at that point. And that brings me to my next point. Reason number 6. Why is Nitara a health penalty character? It's becoming obvious that she's one of the lower tiers, if not maybe the weakest character in the game. So it's hard to understand why they made her start with only 900 health to begin with rather than the standard 1000. I would also wonder the same about the previous mentioned Motaro cameo, as it is the only one of it's one of the weaker cameos in the game and being more of a situational counter pick in my opinion and maybe most others. So I don't have much to say here other than I really don't think her toolkit justifies having a health penalty. Maybe it's because of her healing mechanic, so let's actually talk about that one. Reason number 7. Health steal mechanic is a weak gimmick. Perhaps the reason they decided to make Nitara a health penalty character in the first place is the fact that she can steal health. I mean, that does sound reasonable, until you actually take the character into training mode and have a close look at the numbers. First off, you need to activate the meter burn version of Blood Sacrifice. So again, that's 50 health and 40 frames of just being open and a meter. And then you have to be within a very close range of your opponent during the full duration of the move, which is several seconds. All this is very risky. If you do manage to pull this off without getting hit or even touched because you take tip damage, you will have managed to make a net gain of 40 health. Just 40 health, 40. That's it. Realistically, though, you'll be lucky to break even, as most opponents will simply stay away from you when they see you cast the EX version of Blood Sacrifice because they're aware of the life drain. Between the high risk and the low reward, even at the rank I'm at and the time I have in, I've barely found much use of this except for when opponents have very strong defense and they're being very patient and defensive and you're having a hard time cracking them open. Sometimes activating this and draining their health can put a little bit more pressure on them. Reason number 8 Nitara sucks. Her Fatal Blow is bad. Her Fatal Blow, it just works strange. The most reliable way to use it is to combo off of the 1-2-4 in the air. Do 1-2-4 knock them in the air with anything, and then do 1-2-4 Fatal Blow, and you'll connect. However, it can't be used as a get-up reversal like most, and it has more recovery and less pushback on block than most, so it's just generally more unsafe than everyone else's. And on top of everything else, it just seems like an extra just thorn in the side, an extra insult to injury. You can use it, though, if you're about round start range as a fireball punish, because she'll go straight over the fireball and hit them on the way down before they're able to recover from their projectile. So what would I change to Nitara? Honestly, I still play Nitara and I think she's really fun and has a lot of potential, so I'm not going to give up on her yet. I don't think they'll ever change the blood spit move into a mid. So I think the armored getup is just going to be a high, and that's just something we're going to have to deal with. I think changing it to a mid would be asking a lot. I think the animations are kind of set in stone, like they're kind of intended to be high or low based on that. So I don't think they're ever going to change that. This is going to be something we have to deal with along with Cage and Shao. I do believe that she would be on a much more even playing field if they remove the meter requirement for the air dash canceling of back 2 and standing 3. So long as it's the first air dash in your combo or string or whatever. This is like the single greatest drawback of playing this character. The other thing I would change is her health total. Just make it 1,000. I would just make everybody 1,000. I don't think anybody has a big enough difference to justify having an extra 100 or health or minus 100 health. You can just leave them all 1,000. I just don't think the health steal numbers on Nitara warrants having the penalty either. Just for the sheer fact that you hurt yourself to even access it, and then you got to be close enough and pull it off. I mean, the paying the 50 health to activate the move is the health penalty. So yeah, just make the first air dash cancel free for everything as it should be, and give her normal health. And I feel like Nitara is on par with everyone else. You don't need to do a lot. I wouldn't change a whole lot. Would be in a great spot, because what does she do well? Damage. Honestly, Nitara has really good damage. She can easily do 30%, 40% off of one bar real easily. So she's a very volatile, like 3-touch character. And if you do manage to land her 1-2-1-2 combo starter, which is just to, off her jab, which is probably the hardest to actually land, but if you do get it, her bread and butter combo, which I discussed in my other video, link up above, you can do like a 35% damage combo for free. And this all makes up for her lack of meterless mix. And after playing Nitara for a while and experimenting with some of the other characters, I found that she just kind of hits a little bit harder than the rest of the cast. So you do have that going for you. So what do you think about Nitara? Do you think she's good or bad? Do you play Nitara? And if you do you think she needs any buffs or even nerfs? I doubt so, but let me know what you think in the comments below. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Peace.